In this video, we will be packaging this little painting, Daydream Circles, all the way from the start to when the courier picks it up. And so we will be talking about which materials that I use and how I protect the painting against moisture, against scratches, against objects that could potentially penetrate the cardboard box, etc, etc, etc. And so normally after watching this video, you should be able to package art on paper yourself. And so let's start off with the materials that we will be using. So I'm just going to list them in random order. The first one is linen acid-free self-adhesive tape. Then we're also going to use artist tape, also acid-free, and regular Tessa tape, and packaging tape. A cardboard box, foam board, an alcohol pen, a pencil, your branded materials, whatever they might be, plastic bag, acid-free packaging paper or glassine paper, bubble wrap, foam wrap, and cheap packaging filler paper, a measuring device, the cutting board, the scraper, the cutter, the packaging gun. And last but not least, flat board envelopes. And all of the materials are of course going to be linked in the description, and if I forgot something, it's also going to be linked. And important to notice, none of these materials were sponsored. This is just what I normally use. FYI, I've never been sponsored, so call me. So let's go further. Now, before we start with the packaging, we have to clean stuff up because we need a clean working space. And so we're going to do that. I'm a pretty messy person, meaning that we're not going to clean up the whole working space, just 20%, so we have a clean spot to work on. Now, when it comes to being messy, here's a strange and kind of awkward thing I do. I have this habit of ripping paper into tiny small bits of paper and making little piles of that around the studio. They say that dementia people do that as well. So I'm not sure if this is an early sign or if I'm simply a strange guy. And so if you know somebody who does that as well, let me know. After we have a clean working space, we will be making a mount. This will not only result in a better presentation, but will also add protection to the painting. Now, normally I use standardized formats for these smaller paintings, otherwise it takes too much time, but for this particular one, it's actually an older painting where I didn't use those standardized formats yet. And so we have to cut it to the size of the painting ourselves. Now, important here is that you use, obviously, acid-free materials. And so this passepartout that I'm using is an acid-free museum quality graded board that you can use for mounting purposes. Next up, we want to finish the painting, making sure that everything that is necessary is written on the back of the painting, like the title, the year, the materials used and stuff like that. And for this particular painting, I also cut the borders of the painting because it's an older work dating 6 years back and I don't remember if I used acid-free tape in the painting process. And so cutting the borders is the safest thing to do to make sure the painting will be conserved perfectly. And to finish it off, we stick the painting to the mount with self-adhesive acid-free linen tape. Now, important to notice here is that we don't use regular tape on the painting. Everything that touches the painting has to be acid-free. Because I've seen some other YouTube videos while doing research for this video, and people were using regular tape, people were using like wasabi Chinese tapes with fancy colors, some girly tapes and all of that stuff. And sadly enough, those tapes, they might look nice, but they're not acid-free. And so sticking them on the painting will leave stains over time. Those will not be visible in the first couple of years, but 5 years in, 10 years in, your painting will turn yellow. And so those tapes will literally destroy your artwork. Now, another beautiful thing about these linen acid-free tapes is that they add a lot of professional feel to your packaging process because they have this like linen touch, you know, and it's easy for the framer to frame it as well. They can just cut the linen a couple of times and remove the painting from the frame, from the mount, and then frame it the way they want to. Once the painting is completely ready, we want to wrap the painting in acid-free paper. And while wrapping it, we also want to use acid-free tape because we don't know how long the collector will leave it in this package. It might be for years. And so to be certain, use acid-free tape. Don't use the linen tape necessarily because that's going to be more expensive. Use a cheaper version to cut down on costs. On top of that, we want to make the unwrapping experience as easy and smooth for the customer as possible. And so what I like to do is to fold each end of the tape so that you create some kind of handle where the customer can easily grab the tape and pull it off. It's through these small details that you stand out as an artist. Next up, we are going to make corners for the painting. Now, if you're using a mount like we're doing in this example, this is actually not necessary, but it's such a nice little trick that I wanted to show it anyway, because if you're a complete beginner, then I think this will help out a lot in other areas of your packaging journey. What you want to do is simply take a couple of square pieces of acid-free paper with sides of somewhere around 15 centimeters to 25 centimeters, depending on the size of the painting. What you want to do next is to fold them along the diagonal so that you get a triangle, and then you fold that triangle again so that you get a smaller triangle with a corner pocket. And then you simply place those corners on the corners of your painting for extra protection. Next up, we want to protect our painting against moisture, which is extremely important if you're working with paintings on paper, and even more important if you're working with watercolor on that paper. So what we do is we put everything in a plastic sleeve and close it down. It's self-adhesive but not in a waterproof way, so we want to seal down all the areas where water might enter with some waterproof tape. I think I used the acid-free tape here again, but that's not necessary. You might as well use a cheaper waterproof tape. Next up, we want to make everything look a bit more professional, a bit more fancy, because it's art after all, and people expect some kind of minimum dose of fancy. Now, the problem here is that we're selling a work at $250, a very small work that will be shipped in a cardboard box and not a wooden crate. And so the possibilities for making it look fancy are very, very limited. But there are some things that we can do. So first we'll put this branded ribbon around it. On the ribbon is Studio Dries Ketels written in fancy letters. Now, you can let these ribbons be made fairly cheap. I think it's around $25 for 50 meters, and it becomes progressively cheaper the more you order. And besides the ribbon, we also include cotton gloves. In business, you always want to over-deliver and give more than people expect. This results in a happy customer that is likely to refer you to others. And so the gloves are part of that over-delivering experience. Besides this, the gloves also set the tone for everybody that will handle the artwork afterwards. With the gloves, both the collector as well as the framer tend to handle the artwork with more care because they know it's more important. Now that we have everything wrapped and ready, we want to put the painting in a sandwich of foam board that protects the painting from outside penetration. Now, while we are doing that, you're going to notice that even with this protection, the painting can still in theory be penetrated. In order to prevent this completely, you have to work with a wooden crate, which is simply not possible at this price point. And so you have to draw the line somewhere. So first we are going to cut the foam board for the back and front of the painting. Important here is that it doesn't need to be perfect because this is just wrapping material. And so I usually try to go as fast as possible here so that I don't lose time, meaning that I will use a ruler for the measuring process and I will freehand the cutting process. Perfectionism is your enemy here. After we cut the foam board, we want to put all the extra documents in separate envelopes and attach them to the foam board that is not attached to the painting, the other foam board. The extra documents are in this case a certificate of authenticity that is printed on high quality museum grade paper. The highest quality you can find really, because I believe people feel quality and that feeling then resonates throughout the whole experience. Besides the certificate of authenticity, I include some stickers for business cards. A personalized note where I thank the customer as well as invite them to send me some pictures of the framed and hanged piece. Most customers also do this. And in this particular case, I also include an extra drawing to make up for a mistake I made. So about the mistake, long story short, the collector had to wait more than a month longer than the initial delivery time, even though the collector already paid in full. And so because of this, I added a small drawing to make up for this mistake. And it's these small gestures that really show that you value the thing that people love most, namely their time. And this is something that most artists wouldn't acknowledge, the fact that they made a mistake, that they wasted somebody's time, let alone that they would make up for it. And so these small gestures make you stand out from the crowd. Now the business card is actually a really nice little art piece on itself. What I did here is I made a bunch of realistic self-portrait drawings and then cut them into business cards and put a stamp on the back. In other words, people get a piece of an original drawing instead of a business card. And so as a result, they are really curious to which piece of which drawing they have, which they can find out by going to the website and searching for their piece in one of the business card drawings. This is the only way I know of in which a business card actually gives people a reason to go to the website for themselves instead of for the company that handed them the business card. There's more to this business card that I'm not going to explain because this is a packaging video, so let's go further with the packaging info. So after you attach the 2 envelopes to the foam board, we want to make a foam board sandwich with all the valuable things inside. And we make sure that they are not pressed against each other. And so I cut out these little blocks of foam board and stick them in between the foam board as some kind of barrier that prevents the valuable goods to be pressed against each other. Then we want to tape the 2 foam boards with regular packaging tape against each other and wrap the sandwich in 2 layers of bubble foam or bubble wrap. When it comes to the bubble wrap, try to roll the bubble wrap up so that you don't have too much excess bubble wrap sticking out of the package. A little bit is okay, a lot might become a problem. After this, I also fortify the corners with an extra layer of bubble wrap. We also want to tape the bubble wrap around so everything stays in place. If you happen to have multiple paintings in one shipment, you make a double sandwich or even a triple sandwich and then bubble wrap all of that together. Now that we have everything ready, we want to make the cardboard box, and this is kind of self-explanatory. If you buy a cardboard box, well, then you can skip this step because you already have a box. But for those who have sheets of cardboard, you'll need to make a box out of that. So first we fold the cardboard box until it fits the painting. Then we want to make the flaps. In order to do this, we first measure the length of each flap. The length of each flap simply equals the depth of the painting minus 1 centimeter or something. And if you want to quickly draw it on the cardboard box while measuring it at the same time, I have a little trick for you. Hook the measuring device on the cardboard box while holding an alcohol pen against the measuring device. Now slide the measuring device over the cardboard box while drawing a line on the box, and voila. Now you're measuring and drawing all at once like a real pro. Once you draw everything out, you want to make a little cut in the cardboard box where the fold of the flap needs to come. Don't cut it all the way through. It's better to cut not enough than to cut too much. And then to finish, you simply fold the flap in order to create a flap. After you've finished making the box, you make sure that you fill all excess space inside of the box with packaging paper or extra bubble wrap. Then close everything up and tape the box. Now, when it comes to taping the box, make sure that you tape everything more than you think is necessary, because shippers oftentimes slide these boxes over the ground, which can result in tape getting loose. And so you want to make sure that you have multiple layers of tape all around the cardboard box. And when taping the box, you can also use the red and white tape to indicate that there are valuable and fragile goods inside, or you can use these fragile tapes or anything like that. You can even print your own branded tape if you want to. Now, when it comes to printing your printing labels, you can use these printing label sheets and put them in a regular printer, or you can buy a professional label maker, and these are not expensive at all. You can already get them for I think 30 euros or something, $30. And so you can do that, and that will definitely save you some time as well. And more importantly, when it comes to sticking them on the cardboard box, I never have found these labels to be reliable, and so I always stick them myself some more afterwards. And I also make sure that I use transparent tape to cover the shipping label completely. This adds more protection to the label and makes it moisture proof. If you don't do this, it might get scratched or ripped by something or becomes unreadable because of moisture or anything like that. And if it's unreadable, then the package of course gets lost, and you don't want that to happen. Now, in order to make this video complete, we should probably also be talking about how to sell your art, because if you don't sell art, then there's no art to be packaged in the first place. And so ideally we should be talking about how to find art collectors online, how to sell your art online, but that would be another 15 minutes and frankly completely different video, and so I'm very sorry, but we are not going to do that predominantly because I already did. It's called How to Sell Art on Instagram without having a lot of followers, and you could be watching it. Take care, see you around, ciao ciao.